What do Haremia, Love Chinibyo, and yeah, every other slice of life anime ever have in common? They're all set in pristine, romanticized versions of the ideal Japanese neighborhood. Surely this is just more anime lies, like having friends or enjoying your youth. Or is it? Yeah, hello and welcome back to Kinda Neat. Today we're gonna do an in-depth comparison on anime neighborhoods versus their real-life inspirations, so we can determine just how much we're missing out on by not living in Japan. Spoiler alert, it's a lot. And what better place to start than with the visuals? Wow, KyoAni has really outdone themselves this time. This almost looks real. But what is real? Although a ton of anime are set in major cities like Tokyo or Osaka, they all tend to have the vibe of a small town, with a community of people providing all the essential services you could possibly need within a short walk, pedal, or and there is something extremely unique about real Japanese cities that allows for this sort of proximity-based community that is just unheard of in the West. Universal mixed-use zoning. Wake up, Frank. This is actually really interesting. Most cities in the West separate their neighborhoods into 3 zones: residential, commercial, and industrial. And while I'm sure there are good reasons for this, it doesn't exactly make for a good anime-style living experience. Instead, Japan's zoning works on a tier system. And I won't bore you with all the details, but the key thing here is that even the lowest tier allows for shops to be run out of the first floor of your home, which is what allows for all the iconic mochi shops, ramen restaurants, and shotengai like the one from Tamako Market. Let's take a quick look at the zoning map for Vancouver, which is the city that I'm from. It's still pretty segregated, but not too terrible, right? But zooming out, we cross the Pacific Ocean of gray, otherwise known as residential zoning, where dreams go to die. Contrast that with this zoning map from a typical Tokyo neighborhood. There are so many colors that even Hitomi could see them. Well, maybe not. You've got shops, restaurants, houses, schools, temples, and yes, classic anime apartments, all on not only the same street, but every street. This allows for people to satisfy their day-to-day needs without ever having to leave their own neighborhood, which I think is what contributes to keeping the number of cars in the city low. That and the complete lack of parking. If you've ever wondered why Tokyo seems like the most photogenic city on the planet with absolutely no bad angles, unlike Frank, I think one of the main factors is the almost non-existent street parking. You literally can't buy a car in Tokyo unless you can prove to the police that you have a place to park it. So they have to get pretty creative. Another thing you might notice while watching anime is that the protag always sits in the desk by the window, but also that the entire neighborhood seems to center around a single point. No, not his desk, but the train station. This is where it all goes down. Japanese train stations are basically the equivalent of old town squares. In the past, I've mocked anime for just how often characters will randomly bump into each other, but if it was going to happen somewhere, it'd be here. Just by pulling a sick 360, you'll be able to find anything you might need, from konbinis to izakayas, from karaoke to arcades. And when you inevitably pass out from all the spinning, the police koban is only a stone's throw away. Once released from the tank, you can escape the hustle and bustle and go wallow in shame at one of Tokyo's over 1,400 shrines littered across the city. Speaking of litter, where is all of it? In a trash can, where it belongs. But wait, there aren't any trash cans. I guess everyone in Japan is just perfect and use their own bodies to break down the plastic and convert it into rainbows. Or there's just a super dense population with a highly specialized workforce and a sense of pride in one's community deeply ingrained into their culture. Much like how anime characters take turns on classroom cleanup duty, so do Japanese neighborhoods work together to keep their streets clean and trash free. Often the area in front of one's house or store is considered the owner's responsibility. It's not enforced in any way, but it's not at all uncommon to see shop owners sweeping the street like they would their own floor. Combine that with more organized cleanup efforts, and you get anime level clean streets, on which you'll see students of all ages walking night or day, without even fearing for their lives. I can't even imagine what that's like. There is a ton of data showing how low the crime rate is in Japan, but obviously it's all based on self-reports. So what I can say is that during my time there, I stayed in one of the worst neighborhoods Osaka has to offer, and walked the streets all night long without ever once feeling threatened in any way. Now, my courage could have come from all the strong zero I was drinking at the time, but still, it's not uncommon to see teenagers and even kids walking around at night. Until of course you hear that pleasant jingle over the town speakers that reminds kids to get home for bed. In fact, being out late seems almost encouraged, given that konbini are open 24/7 and vending machines serve just about everything a guy could ask for. So really, the only lie that anime tells us about Japanese neighborhoods is that the girls in them will like me. Let me know in the comments what aspect of anime you'd like to see me compare to real life next. And if you enjoyed this video, I think you'll really like my series here, where I break down which anime tropes are fact and which are fiction. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you Neets next time.